This is Mars. If you zoom in on it, it's a little out of focus, but it's this pulsating, energetic. I think it's sentient.
Now, I bet you never knew that, did you? I bet you never knew that the planet Mars was a pulsating, energetic, sentient being in space. Now, this would be a lot funnier if the truth wasn't that while he was doing this live stream, he was being beamed directly into a science classroom in a real school. I'm not joking, we'll get to that. And this pulsating, energetic, sentient Mars thing wasn't the only balmy thing he was saying to these kids.
There were giants. There were all sorts of things. Dinosaurs are not real. You guys love dinosaurs in space.
Dinosaurs in space. We all remember being taught that little gem, don't we? And I'm sure we all remember being taught that the stars in the sky were actually angels made of wheels within wheels.
And then if you look at these little circles in here, it looks like a wheel within that side of wheel. Well, there's some scripture that talks about stars and angels being wheels inside of wheels and all sorts of stuff, but I don't want to speculate on that. We don't need to.
Yeah, we don't want to sound nuts, do we? Now, some people will always know this guy as Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, or DITRH. Some people will always know him as Flat Earth Dave. And I, of course, will always know him as a complete and utter moron. But the biggest question is, however you think of him, is what is he doing being beamed into a live science classroom? We'll see later on some of the students actually presenting him with questions and him absolutely destroying the answers. But first of all, given the fact that he's been given a chance to be a teacher, it's time for Dave to show off his inspirational qualities. What can he say to these students to really get them switched on to education?
You guys have spent 15 years in school, and what are you going to get? You're going to get a piece of paper that qualifies you to what? It qualifies you to take out a loan and go into debt and go to college for 4 years.
It's not quite, oh, Captain, my Captain, is it? And don't worry if you don't get the reference. There'll be plenty of stuff in this video you won't understand, and none of it will be your fault. But as well as being an inspirational teacher, Flat Earth Dave is also seemingly open to being contacted by these students outside of school hours.
And the school probably won't allow this, but if any of you can give us a globe proof today, email me privately outside of school grounds and you win 3 Bitcoins. Okay? I got your attention? You guys know what Bitcoin is, right?
Anyway, the lesson starts off with Flat Earth Dave grandstanding to a bunch of students, telling them that flat earthers are the only people who know what real science is.
People say that flat earthers are science deniers, but we're the ones that actually use science. We don't use the word science. We actually use testable, repeatable, independent, variable science to prove what we're saying.
And then, of course, in true Dave fashion, he then follows that with one of the most unscientific, ridiculous things I've ever heard. And I'm still not sure now what he actually thinks he's proving here.
This is the Earth at 127,000 feet, right? I'm going to move so you can see the sun. There's the sun. It's right there. It's right there. It's not, I bet none of you know how far the sun is. 93 million miles away, they claim. It's a local light, and it's lighting up the Earth right here, but not as much over here. If it was 93 million miles away, it would be an equal lighting. That's just when people say, well, where's a picture of flat Earth? Every picture is of flat Earth.
Anyway, after saying some words there, he then goes on to say some more words.
If the Earth is a ball, it has curvature. All balls have curvature. This ball has curvature, provably so, to the point where you can't see my mouth right now because it's behind curvature.
Yes, because no non-curved object could possibly hide Dave's big mouth. Now, it's time for the students to ask Flat Earth Dave some questions. And the students' voices are a little bit quiet and muffled, so I'm going to repeat the question before the clip. But essentially, this student is asking Dave about the tides.
What about the tide?
Time?
Tide.
Oh, the tides.
So now it's his big chance to step up. The kids have asked him, how do the tides work on a flat Earth? And how can you possibly debunk the current scientific explanation for how tides work? It's time for Dave to show us what he's truly made of.
Right? So here we have the Earth is here, and no, is that the Earth? That's the moon. I'm sorry.
Fucking nailed it, Dave. Great job. I don't know if you noticed there was a tiny error in there. Anyway, perhaps unsurprisingly, Dave doesn't go on to explain how the tides work on a flat Earth, nor does he go on to debunk the current understanding of how the tides work. Instead, he just gives us a pretty subpar explanation of how the tides work and then just says it's ridiculous.
And let me give you your official school-taught explanation on why there's a high tide over here. The moon's gravity is pulling the water away from the Earth, creating a bulge. And at the same time, it's pulling the Earth away from the water on the other side, creating another bulge. And the reason that you're scratching your head is because that's a ridiculous statement, but that's what they want you to believe.
So if anything, I guess what the kids are learning here is it's important to stay in school. Now, the next question from the children, how do time zones work?
So how do time zones work? Wouldn't, like, if the Earth was flat?
Now, they do say if you want to seem more intelligent than you are, bring somebody with you who's an even bigger idiot than you are. And Dave has done that here with his friend Angels of Light. After being asked, how do time zones work on a flat Earth? He decides to answer a completely different question about how does day and night work. And even his answer to that is ridiculous.
Yeah, so basically the local sun illuminates a certain portion of the Earth. And as the sun moves over top of the Earth, east to west in a circle, it creates day and night because there's light attenuation through the air. The light doesn't travel forever through the air, and it basically creates day and night.
Now, perhaps out of, I don't know, sheer embarrassment, Flat Earth Dave decides to step in and deliver an equally crazy explanation.
Yeah, I wish we had more time, but I will answer that real quick. So look at this is my flat Earth clock. The sky is a clock. Wherever the sun is, it's noon. Now, you guys are over here. It's like 10:15 in the morning because the sun is coming towards us. So the sun is moving. So that would be 11 o'clock. That would be 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, right? 2 o'clock. It's midnight over here.
Now, in case it's not already obvious to us all, and I know it is, Dave is using this as his flat Earth model, which means that for some reason, there is a boundary right across the center of the Earth, like a diameter of a circle, where the light simply cannot pass. And for some completely unexplained reason, the light from the sun traveling in this direction can only travel a short distance, but the light from the sun traveling in these directions can travel much further. It's unfathomable. It's almost as if Dave and his friend are wrong, and they are both complete utter morons. Anyway, the conversation moves to gravity.
So why don't you believe in gravity?
Well, do you start?
Yeah. So first of all, we don't, like, it's like me asking you, well, why don't you believe in my unicorn? First, I'd need to prove the unicorn exists. Well, gravity's never actually been isolated or directly manipulated or proven.
Now, when he says gravity's never been proven, I can only imagine what he's actually saying is he's dedicated his entire existence to scrutinize scientific papers like this one, which document the number of times the gravitational constant has been measured over the decades. And what he's done is he's found incredibly subtle flaws in all of the experimentation which has led to these measurements. And he's refuted the experiments with scientific papers of his own, and the scientific community simply cannot respond to him. That's what he's saying. Actually, I don't think that. What I think is, if he was in a science quiz and the only opponent he had was a single wet shoelace, he would still come third. Now, the questions continue.
When you called gravity a theory, that doesn't really discredit all the evidence.
What evidence?
You give us some evidence for gravity.
Now, the student tries to provide some evidence, but the audio is really, really bad there. I can't make out what he's saying, but it doesn't matter because Flat Earth Dave and his chum are already prepared and ready to present the worst debunk of gravity you have ever seen in your entire life.
Angel, point up. Point up right now, Angel. So we're both pointing in the same direction. He's in Australia. I'm in Connecticut. Right? He's not pointing in the opposite direction. Our feet aren't facing each other through the earth. Right? Up is up, down is down.
Now, this one's too dumb even for me. He is literally saying here that he can debunk gravity because he thinks that people in Australia should appear like this on camera. Getting a headache. Okay, now we move on to a question from the teacher, and it's all about the planets.
The nature of the planets. Are there planets? How do we conceptualize like the sun and the moon, or just planets in general?
And here's where the lies begin. Dave starts off by telling us that Jupiter can't really be what we say because when we actually look at it in the night sky, it's as bright as the sun, which clearly isn't true because it wouldn't be the fucking night sky if it was as bright as the sun. Anyway, let's get to it.
If you look at Jupiter, it's literally as bright as the sun. It's just like a big star. So if you're on Jupiter, that little tiny sun is going to light up the gas and then travel 400 million miles to Earth where I can see it as bright as the sun.
And then he tries to show us some pictures of Jupiter from NASA and tries to make out how shocked he is that these two pictures should look completely different. Well, they do look completely different because, as you'll see in a second, the second picture he shows us isn't of Jupiter, it's of the moon.
If we look at the images that NASA gives us of Jupiter, right? Here's a picture, recent picture from NASA, right? Here's another one.
And it was at this point I really had to question what has become of my life, all the hopes and dreams I had as a child. And now I'm watching a flat earther confuse Jupiter with the moon. Don't give up on your dreams, kids. Don't be me.
Who took this picture? Okay? Who took this picture? Right? So none of this makes any sense, right? This is the storm, right? These are just paintings. These are literally like AI paintings.
Yeah, the image of the Juno probe he showed there was a promotional image produced of the Juno probe. But just because you can produce an image of something or draw something doesn't mean the thing you are drawing ceases to exist. Anyway, I don't know if you noticed at the beginning of that clip, there was a little bit of a glitch on the internet, which made Dave sound like he was doing some kind of monkey noise. Normally, I would be far too mature to point that out. Fuck it. Not my best work, I'm sure you'll agree. Maybe I should be a little bit embarrassed, but not as embarrassed as Dave should be for suggesting that Jupiter is a Van Gogh painting.
We just did a comparison of the storm on Jupiter to a Van Gogh painting. Right? Right? It's the same thing.
Yeah, only people with eyes could spot the difference. Anyway, let's get to the comments. Well, this guy says that his ex-wife thought he was crazy about Flat Earth, and now he wants to send her this video. And to that, I can only say this. For the love of God, if you don't want your ex-wife thinking you are crazy, the last thing you should be doing is sending her this video. This guy says, this was awesome. I think for kids with a short attention span, you guys did this perfectly. And I think the only kids that should be presented anything like this are kids with the shortest of attention spans. And then that way they'll have drifted off and started thinking about something else by the time you start speaking. Next comment. This teacher is a hero. No, he's a knob. This guy here has obviously never looked up at the night sky. He says that 6 months apart, we're on the other side of the sun. We should be seeing different stars in the sky, but we never do. And this is perhaps the most depressing of all the comments because it's so easy to correct yourself on it. I've got two messages for this guy, if he happens to be watching. Firstly, congratulations. I'm really genuinely impressed. You've managed to log onto a computer, create a YouTube account, and type some words correctly. So well done for that. Secondly, I assume you live in America, so just try and spot Orion, the constellation of Orion, in the sky, in the night sky, in the summer, and see how you get on with that. As for everybody else, I've had enough. I'm off. Bye.